Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. We got some really interesting source material from you today. It's a mix of notes in an article about this tool called Repomix.
Yeah, it looks fascinating. This is exactly the kind of thing we like to, really dig into.
Totally. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack what Repomix is, how the source material shows it being used.
And crucially, what they actually learned from, well, taking a whole code repository, packing it up, and feeding that big chunk of context to large language models.
Right. Think of this as like your quick guide to understanding this specific way of tackling a common problem.
Which is,
How do you give an AI the full picture of a big code base without, just blowing past those context window limits right away?
exactly. Okay, let's jump in.
So first things first, what is Repomix? According to the source material you sent, it's basically a utility, right? Designed to consolidate, grab everything from a source code repository.
That's the core idea. It takes all the files, the code, maybe docs, everything, and packs it down. Well, the main goal highlighted in the source is getting that entire repository into a single file format that an LLM can easily work with.
And why do that? I mean, the reason seems pretty obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah, you want the LM to see the whole project, the whole context, not just isolated bits and pieces.
Getting that full context, that's the key.
Absolutely. It's really about trying to get around that context window limitation by presenting the entire code project as one digestible chunk.
Okay, so the source material.
Yeah.
How did it describe actually using Repomix? Did it sound like a complicated setup?
Not really. Based on the notes, it seems pretty straightforward. They mentioned just installing and running it using npx repomix.
Okay, standard command line stuff.
Yeah. And they noted the specific version they used was 0.3.6.
Gotcha. And once you run it, what does it actually spit out?
So it processes the repository and generates a single output file. In the specific example they gave, the file was named repomix-output.xml.
Ugh, XML. So an XML file with the packed repo inside. But the tool does more than just make the file, right? The source said it gives a summary in the console.
It does, which sounds super helpful. It gives you key stats about what it just packed.
Like what? What kind of details?
Let's see. The source notes mentioned it processed 50 files in their example. The total character count was just over 100,000 characters.
Okay.
And really importantly for LLMs, it calculated the token count. 24,746 tokens.
Right, 24,746 tokens for the whole repo. That's the number you care about for context windows. Just to quickly clarify for everyone, tokens are kind of like pieces of words or code that the AI uses.
Exactly. That count tells you if you can actually feed the whole thing to the AI at once.
Yeah.
And, 24K tokens. That often fits these days.
Good point. What else was in the summary?
It also included a quick security check result. It said, no suspicious files detected. It's a nice little sanity check before you maybe upload your code somewhere.
Yeah, that's reassuring. What I thought was really useful from the source's summary was the list of the top 5 files by size.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you a much better feel for what's actually taking up space in that packed file rather than just abstract numbers.
That's true. Seeing the list makes it more concrete. And interestingly, the largest file by far was licensee.md.
The license file. Seriously.
Yeah, took up 28.5% of the tokens. That's 6,674 tokens just for the license.
Wow. Okay. What else was in the top 5? Actual code.
Yes, the rest were .py files,
Yeah.
foobar.py, foolarcli.py, noxfy.py, and foobarinit.py. So it does ground the numbers in reality.
And the tools points to its website too, repix.com. Okay, so you run repomix, you get this repomix-output.xml. What did the source say they did next? How did they use it with the LLM?
Right, so the next step described was taking that packed file and uploading it to Gemini.
Google's Gemini. Okay.
And they mentioned trying it 2 different ways. One was using the standard Gemini web interface.
Just uploading the file through the browser.
Exactly. And the other method was using a command line tool called Aider.
Aider. Okay, I've heard of that. And once the file was uploaded, what did they actually ask the LLM to do with it? Was there a specific prompt?
Yep, they used a pretty clear instruction. The prompt went something like, this file contains all the files in the repository combined into one. I want to refactor the code, so please review it first.
Makes sense. Set the task clearly, review first, then think about refactoring.
Right.
Okay, now this is where the source notes got really interesting for me. Because even with the same file and the same prompt, the results, they weren't the same.
Exactly. This is a key finding. They explicitly noted that the suggestions, refactoring ideas they got back, They varied quite a bit, depending on the specific version of the Gemini model they used.
So not just Gemini versus, say, Claude, but different flavors of Gemini.
Precisely. They compared results from Gemini 2.5 Flash, the one they accessed via the web, versus Gemini 2.5 Flash Preview 0520.
Huh. That's subtle. Did they have a preference? Did one work better for their goal?
They did. The source stated a clear preference for the standard Gemini 2.5 Flash.
Why was that?
It seemed to give more manageable suggestions, like incremental refactoring steps.
Yeah.
Easier to understand and apply.
Okay, smaller bites.
Yeah. Whereas the Gemini 2.5 Flash Preview model apparently suggested much bigger, more sweeping changes. Yeah. Things that were maybe harder to just take and run with.
That's a fantastic insight. It really shows that it's not just which model, but the specific version, or maybe even how it's tuned, that matters a lot for usability.
Definitely. And it wasn't just the model version. They also talked about the difference in the workflow actually interacting with the LLM via the web versus using that Aider tool.
Right, the practicalities. How did those compare?
Well, using the standard web interface, the notes describe that typical problem. You usually have to tell the LLM, hey, give me the changes as a diff, or show me the whole updated file.
Oh, yeah, the classic copy-paste dance.
Exactly. You have to manually copy the suggestions out of the chat window and paste them back into your code editor.
Which is slow.
Yeah.
And you can easily mess it up.
Totally. It's a real bottleneck and kind of error-prone. The source really highlighted that using Aider made this much smoother.
How so? What did Aider do differently?
Because the way they used it, Aider could apparently take the LLM's suggested changes and apply them directly to the actual source code files in the repository.
Ah, okay. So Aider acts more like an integrated assistant that can make the edits for you?
That's the workflow benefit they described. Much more streamlined.
Makes sense. Any other advantages to using Aider mentioned?
Yeah, one other thing the source noted was getting better visibility into what's happening under the hood. Things like token usage and, importantly, API costs.
Oh, right, because you're often paying per token with these models.
Exactly. They even gave a specific example from their run. Tokens. 30K sent. 899 received. Cost. 0.0050 message. 0.0050 session.
That level of detail is really useful if you're doing this regularly, seeing the cost breakdown. Okay, so let's pull this all together. We have repomix for packing the repo, using it with Gemini, finding differences between model versions, and comparing web UI versus Aider for the workflow. What was the final verdict from the source material? The overall feeling?
The concluding thought was pretty straightforward and, well, positive. They summed it up as, repomix seems like a helpful tool so far.
Helpful tool so far. Okay, simple enough. So let's quickly summarize this for you, the listener. What are the main takeaways here?
Well, I think if you're a developer or maybe you're managing a team and you're wrestling with these big code projects.
Yeah.
And you're curious about how AI can genuinely help with stuff like understanding code, doing reviews, or even refactoring.
Which many people are.
Right. Then a tool like repomix offers a concrete way to tackle that context problem.
Yeah.
It lets you potentially give the AI a much richer project-wide view than just feeding it one file at a time.
It helps get past that initial context window barrier.
Exactly. But the experience shared here also really underlines that the tool, repomix itself, is only one piece of the puzzle.
How so?
The surrounding workflow, how you actually use the AI's output, how you get it back into your project, that web versus Aider comparison really showed how critical that is for practical use.
The integration matters a lot.
Hugely. And maybe the most surprising bit, the specific LLM model, even down to the version, can dramatically change how useful the suggestions actually are.
So experiment required, basically. Don't just assume one model or version is best.
Seems that way.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the bigger picture here? Something for our listeners to chew on.
Well, thinking about this idea of packing complex stuff, like a whole software project, into one unit for an AI, it really opens up possibilities, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
It makes you wonder, what other kinds of big structured data sets could benefit from a similar approach? Think about, I don't know, huge archives of research papers or detailed engineering specs for Bridge, or maybe complex historical records.
Packing all that context together.
Yeah. And if you can do that, what new things become possible? What new challenges pop up when AI can actually digest and reason over these massive integrated contexts all at once?
That is a fascinating thought. What happens when AI can truly grasp the entire library, not just one book at a time?
Exactly. Something to think about.
A powerful thought indeed. Thanks for diving deep with us on RepoMix today.